Welcome everyone, this is episode 43 of the Heart for Excellence podcast. Today's guest is Wu. Wu, I had a pleasure to meet at one of the Lone Star Burn Association's lunches, just one time. But it's something about Wu, I guess his demeanor and his desire for God that really linked us together. And one of the things that Wu mentioned was the relationship he had with the money. And so that's something we want to touch upon. But is there anything you want to talk about, Trevor, before we dig into it?
Yeah, it was the LSBA. You were speaking.
Yes,
you were
talking. Right. Yeah.
And then we were all at the same table, right? And, you know, the way we roll, we just talk to people and guys and, hey, let's figure out their story. Let's hear it. And you were sharing so frankly and openly and honestly. I really enjoyed it because you were talking about how the love of money and how that affected your life. And so we were excited when you agreed to be on Heart for Excellence.
Yeah.
So if you could just give us some background to your story and then jump on into kind of how you got to your dark spot where you had that come to Jesus moment and had to rethink through your life and your faith.
Well, so ever since I was young, my mom in particular kind of ingrained into who I am as far as just being, I'm going to say frugal or cheap with money, so that I could save as much as I can, right?
Right.
Because my parents were super tight. Like you would almost, like for lack of better terms, you may want to take this out, but I'm going to call myself an Asian Jew.
Wow, that's extreme.
Yeah. So I am really tight with money. So money has always been something that I've always wanted to try to be cognizant of. And right out of high school, I actually joined the military and started going to college first. And then with my deployment money, I invested it into the stock market and I made some pretty good returns on at a young age. And after I got out, I had some money saved up enough to where I felt like comfortable enough to want to start my own thing and start a business. So after my undergrad, I was actually going to go to grad school, but instead I chose to go into business with my former business partner that I had met, and really at that point in my life. I was so focused on how can I grow my wealth. Yeah. Right? Like that was literally what was on my mind. That time I was 25 years old. 25 or 26. Yeah. Right? And I was like, all I was thinking about literally every single moment that I was awake, I would be thinking, all right, what's my next investment? How can I grow this thing to be even like 10 times what it is now, right?
So what about your relationship with the Lord? Where were you at that time?
So I came to the Lord sometime in high school. I don't have like a very specific moment where I was like, oh, Lord, I'm just going to give you my life. You know, it was more so a gradual thing. One of my friends that I met at the YMCA while I was playing basketball just invited me over to go to church with him. And since after that mustard seed was planted, we just kind of grew from there. And so I always wanted to live my life for God, you know, even towards the latter half of my high school career and even through the military. But this love of money was always a stronghold.
In a way. Yeah.
And to be quite honest with you, like it still is, right? But this experience that I had of me starting a business and failing at it, losing literally everything that I have, and having to file bankruptcy is a stark reminder of, look, you know, I think God was showing me that, yeah, you could try to make it all you want, but I could just take it away just like that.
What year did you file bankruptcy?
I filed bankruptcy 2 years ago.
So it's still relatively recent past.
It is.
So you get out of the Navy. Was it
Marine Corps?
Marine Corps.
Yeah.
At what age?
22.
You take all your money that you've accumulated by taking your paycheck and investing it because pretty much all your living expenses were covered.
Right.
So you had a good little chunk of change,
Right.
much more than that. You invested all into a company. What kind of company was it?
It was a.
I love how it proceeds by a laugh.
So believe it or not, it was a gun retail / training business.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's where you put all your money. So
Yeah.
now you're trying to make it work because you've got a business partner.
Right.
Again, you don't have to go here, right? Because I want to be sensitive. But did the business fail because of the business partnership and different views and perspectives of business, or was it just the business model and it is what it is?
It was absolutely not on the business partner. So it was mainly, I think, from the business model that we had. So really, whenever we started the business, our desire was to really go into contracting and training people how to shoot.
Yeah.
Right? And for that, we wanted to be able to have a facility or a compound, almost like a shoot house, for us to train people how to clear houses and things like that. Right? So that was really our ultimate goal.
Yeah.
But for some reason, we decided that we're going to start a retail shop first to grow our brand. And we basically got Amazon. It's not that Amazon was our competitor, but like online prices are super low.
Yeah.
Right. So for us to start a retail shop to try to grow our brand, just sucked up all of our money, including the money that we ended up borrowing, in addition to that.
Okay, so you started the business. How long did the business last?
3 years.
So 3 years, you didn't make it past that proverbial 3 years, huh?
No.
And so everything is sinking. Your passion, what drives you, what wakes you up in the morning is how do I make another dollar?
Right.
How do I get a return on all the cash I have?
Right.
And then you wake up one morning and you go, oh, all that cash is gone.
Right.
Is that pretty much what happens?
Basically, yeah.
So what's going on in your head, your heart, your soul at this point?
I'm broken, right? I had saved a pretty good amount of change.
In a deployment too.
Yeah, and I literally took everything that I had saved up all my life, including the deployment, and it's all gone. Right? Oh well, by the time I exited the business and ended up filing for bankruptcy, I already knew that it was gone, right? Because we were so much in debt. But whenever I filed bankruptcy, there's a couple of different bankruptcies, right? There's a 7 and a 13. So I don't want to get into the legalities of that, but basically I filed for the one where they take everything from you.
Yeah.
So even the couple $1,000s that I had in my bank account, they took all of it.
Wow.
When I filed for bankruptcy.
When you're saying your account, were you a entity or were you a DBA or doing business?
In my personal bank account.
They went into your personal bank account even though you were LLC or something.
So I personally guaranteed.
Gotcha. Of course.
You're not gonna be able to get a loan without personal guarantee.
Yeah. So they went after, you surrendered, they took everything.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I see a ring on your hand. Were you married back then, or?
I was.
Oh, so how did your wife take it?
My wife is a saint because she was right there with me from the beginning. She was right there with me as we were struggling financially. She was right there with me with a child.
Oh, and the child too. Wow.
With a child, filing for bankruptcy, had zero money in our bank account. I was in basically a 100% commission type job.
Mm-hmm. I know that job. And you're Asian and you now have no money. You're an Asian Jew,
yes.
That has no money.
With no money.
Ow.
Yes.
This is the low point of your life.
Is that what you said? That was the bottom, or?
Yeah. Financial bottom, right? And even from a just as a man.
But identity, like what we just talked about with Chris earlier.
Yeah. Or
your identity
other guest.
was based on your money, your bank account.
Yeah.
And you have no money, you have no identity, therefore.
Right. Yeah.
So how do you wrestle through this? What are you feeling? What are you thinking?
It's funny. As I was filing for bankruptcy, yes, my flesh was extremely down, but really, I feel like my on the spiritual side, I just felt peace about something. So it was super strange, right?
I get that. Yeah.
I have no idea how I'm going to pay for rent or even pay for food the next day.
Child too,
and how I'm going to feed my child, right? But like I just felt this overwhelming sense of peace just throughout that process. It was an amazing experience because at that point, all I had to do was just let go and say, God, I'm going to put in my work, right? I'm still going to put in my work, but I'm just going to let you figure it out. I'm just going to believe that I'm going to be fed tomorrow and my family will be fed tomorrow.
Wow.
And that's literally what I had to live off of for a few months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was your wife a believer the whole time you were married? Was she a believer when you met her?
Yes.
Okay, so she's...
Yes.
And look, not that... We're all different. He's Polish, I'm Canadian, born in England with I'm a mutt. You're Korean. There was a guy named...
Pure Polak.
And you're a pure Polak.
By the way, one of my best friends from childhood was Polish.
Yeah. We're out there.
There was this guy named David Cho, or Young-Hee Cho from South Korea. Ever heard of him?
No.
So you're a little bit younger than me. Maybe a lot, but we'll just say that. He had one of the world's largest churches, and he was the one that really started coined the phrase cell groups.
Okay.
David Cho or Young-Hee Cho. It was interesting, but man, I have met so many Koreans that were so strong in their faith and were so committed to their faith that was almost different than, say, an American Caucasian Christian, if I can just be frank this way.
Yeah.
But it sounds your wife must have been pretty steadfast and solid in her faith.
Yeah. Well, yes, absolutely. So my wife actually is white.
Okay.
She was born and raised in Brenham, Texas, which is a small town.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, and I presumed.
Yeah.
So you got me there. But she grows up in a small white town, Brenham. I know where that is. Driven through that many times. And she's solid in her faith.
Yeah. And honestly, it was really tough on our marriage too. I mean,
no doubt.
Yeah, they say that money is really what kind of separates what kind of
number one cause of divorce.
No, yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And for her to kind of stick it out with me, I mean, I love her to death for it, you know. And the fact that we had a child on top of that, and I don't know.
So now you end up in this place. Are you in Houston at this point?
So by the time I filed bankruptcy, yes, I'm in Houston.
Okay, and you're just taking the job just to try to make ends meet, and keep some food, and maybe have to get Pampers instead of cloth diapers.
Right.
I know that moment. What are you wrestling with in your soul? Like, are you actually coming to the realization, man, I really love money? You said you had a peace. And I know when I came through my addiction and everything was falling apart in my life, there was a peace. And there shouldn't have been. Because I'm losing my health. I'm losing my finances. I'm losing my marriage. I'm losing, in a sense, my kids. I'm losing everything.
Yeah.
And somehow there's a peace, because even when I was losing everything, I also was losing my addiction.
Okay.
It was bizarre. But there was that peace, and you're talking about this peace. So now, is this when you're coming to the realization that I think I really love money more than I should? Or what's going on?
You know, I always knew that I had a lot of money, right?
Okay.
And I knew that was not a good thing, and I tried to justify it to myself that, hey, if I make this, I was almost negotiating with God, right? I was like saying, look, if I make this much money, I'm going to give this much. Right?
Deliver, God.
So I think we do that all the time, no matter what that is, right? So at that point, it was like I really had no other choice, right?
No, well, to be fair, you did. You could just get angry at God and go, God caused me to lose my money. I'm just going to go make more. Or you could run towards God.
Yeah, and I definitely had to run towards God.
Your back was against the wall.
Yeah. I was in the corner.
Okay, but you are coming to your senses, right? Like the prodigal son.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Going, okay, maybe I got it wrong, and maybe I didn't understand the deal. That God is my provider. He's my sustainer. He gives the increase. It's not me, living for me.
Yeah.
So you're actually getting it, though. You're not basically flipping God the burden going, you screwed up. You're taking responsibility, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had the mental knowledge of knowing what I needed to do.
Yeah.
But I think just internally, I just was not doing it. Right?
Yeah, because you can know, but this is called heart for excellence.
Right.
So in your head, you know.
Yeah.
But in your head, it's not filtering down. You're not letting your heart filter how money should be handled.
Mm-hmm.
In your head, you can justify greed, wanting more. But is your heart being affected at this point?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What does that look like? That's what I'm trying to get to. Heart for excellence. Yeah. What's going on in your heart at this point where there's a turning point?
Well, I think at that point I knew that I had to believe in what I'd been thinking about what I needed to do, right? And unfortunately, God forced that hand, I think, on me. Well, I forced it on myself at the end of the day.
Thankfully, because of your actions it came upon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it wasn't... And it still isn't where I feel like there was like a complete transformation of my heart just from that one experience. Mm-hmm. It was more so just a gradual, like even within the last couple of years. Because, from 2 years ago, whenever I filed for bankruptcy, to now, there's a big difference as to the way that I look at money, right?
I bet.
So I've been fortunate enough to be blessed enough to kind of recruit that and be on the way to a place that I really feel comfortable, right? And I tell my wife literally almost on a monthly basis while we're just driving somewhere, I'm like, Kelly, her name's Kelly. I say, Kelly, look, I feel like even in the past year or two, we've made some significant changes in our lives, right? Mm-hmm. And we cannot forget to thank God for that. We cannot take it for granted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very easy. Yeah?
It's not my efforts that really kind of helped us to where we are now, but we have to just praise God for basically digging us out of this hole that we've created for ourselves. Well, I've created for my whole family, right? Because sometimes, like whenever I was in the commission only role and I was doing sales, I did really well, but like I don't think it was necessarily my skills or my efforts. Yeah, like it was all straight. Just God putting the right people in my life and just giving me the successes that I had, right? Is what really kind of helped me to recover in such an expedient manner.
Well, God can restore us, and He gives us gifts, and we can choose to use them for Him or not. We see plenty of successful people that don't use their gifts for God and still are very financially successful, right? But I love what it says, God looks upon the heart. And He says, how do I reach Wu? And He somehow so surgically intervenes in your life to bring you to a place of repentance and restoration. And so, yeah, we have gifts and callings. Who we use it for is up to us. But at the end of the day, if we follow God, it's God that gives the increase.
Yeah, absolutely.
He gives the increase. And He can easily take, like you said earlier. And it's not one formula. It's not a recipe that you can just go, here it is. God looks upon the heart and He says, this is what's best. Next episode is let's kind of finish up this conversation of bankruptcy, and now where you are today. Mm-hmm. We're out of time. Marek, any closing thoughts, bro?
No, thank you for sharing, Wu. Thank you for giving us the background, and I'll be very excited to hear, what's next, because you kind of talked about the journey downhill, and you kind of gave us a peek, and we'd like to let our listeners know where you are versus where you back then, and what you're working on to take it to the next level. Yeah. So thank you very much for opening up, Wu, and God bless you guys, and talk to you soon.
Bless you.